And many parts of it exist in our law as it is today. And so that's something else that I like that you pointed out. Brother, what does it mean to you to be Muslim in America? And can you be proud to be an American as a Muslim?
Yeah, to me, being Muslim in America is a great blessing. I think it's even better than being a Muslim in most Muslim countries because, we were mentioning how we have the freedom to practice our religion, and, we're all grateful for that. But we also don't acknowledge the freedom to not practice your religion. Like, I feel like in Muslim countries, there's like a pressure around it. Like, you're forced to just act like you're Muslim and you really care, and you just do haram in secret, without anyone knowing. Like, you see the same people, like, go to the Masjid, and they're hypocrites about it. Meanwhile, here, like, nobody cares what you do. There's not as much pressure. It's like nobody's forcing you, so you're more true to your deen,
I hear that. Now you said something that stuck out to me. You said most Muslim countries. So I want to know, which Muslim country is it that you could practice your deen better in than America? You said most Muslim countries. So is there any specific Muslim country that you've been to that you would say you could practice your deen better?
I mean, look, it depends on how you think of it. Like, whenever you're surrounded by Muslims, it's much easier to stay connected to your deen and to not fall into fitna or haram, But at the same time, there's, like I said, a social pressure it turns a lot of people away. So
now that's that double-edged sword that we talked about when the first brother spoke. The freedom that we have to practice our religion is the same freedom that exists to lead people astray and down a dark, deep hole. Depression, addiction, and interest, so many things, right? And these ills of society exist in this capitalistic nation that we live in, but that also gives us the freedom to practice our religion how we want, or not practice it. So it's a double-edged sword. And how do we deal with it? Anybody want to give some solutions of what it means to be Muslim in America? A practicing Muslim in America. That's what we're going to end with. How do we practice our deen in this great country of ours?
I would say the main thing would be, like, surround yourself with good practicing people who a good circle, because whenever you're around a bad circle, you're likely to end up like them. I think that's the most important part, and the rest will come along with it because you're influenced by the people around you.
While you're walking through this concrete jungle of North America, my brother says, surround yourself with a circle of people who are remembering Allah. That's very good advice. I like that. Because this is a jungle. And if you walk the jungle by yourself, you're likely to get attacked by the wolves and the lions and the bears and the tigers and the gorillas and the apes. And so there's a lot of gorillas and apes out here in this jungle of North America. Surround yourself with people who are going to protect you and protect their deeds. Inshallah. Let's get a couple of more from the brothers, and then we're going to end with the sisters. How do we practice our deen in this jungle of North America as Muslims and Americans?
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So honestly, I was kind of prepared for the question before.
Great.
But honestly, I think my answer could go for both questions.
Go ahead.
I think it means to strive, and what I mean by strive is like as an American Muslim, is to act Muslim, and I don't mean by act and acting, but as in acting and action. We as a minority in America have to strive and push our beliefs even more. If it were even about politics or just about sharing religion to others. And I believe there's a verse in the Quran. I don't have every version memorized, so I'm just going to say it in English, and it's not going to be word for word. But it's like push or share what you believe about Allah and the Messenger, even if it was against yourself or your family, I think it was.
Okay, so my brother here says what it means for him to be a Muslim in America is to act Muslim. Not in terms of acting like an actor, but to be Muslim in your action. That's the best form of da'wah. Calling people to the religion we could do is by just being good people. So we have a heavy responsibility, as the sister shared earlier, as people who are openly Muslim. We're not hiding our faith. We have a heavy responsibility to live true to our faith, which in turn lessens the Islamophobia and anti-Islamic rhetoric that we see in our society. My brother, what you got? Muslim in America.
Assalamu alaikum. I was kind of prepared for the last question too. Go ahead. But I feel like being Muslim in America in today's age is the biggest blessing and also like an extremely big test. Because I mean we're all born around, or we're not all like different ages, but I feel like everybody knows that Islam is one of, if not the fastest growing religion, and I feel like God made us alive at this time for a reason, and to obviously spread and try to get as many people to understand and hear Islam, and I feel like also kind of tying back to what the sister said of being a minority, being black, and most Muslim people. I mean, there's definitely white people, but being Arabic or just being black or in America is you're already looked at as lower, and on top of that being Muslim, and I feel like he said, you just have to push harder every single day, and everything you do and everything you say, you just have to be more careful, and I feel like you should be extremely, extremely proud to be Muslim, because I was talking to one of my Christian friends not too long ago, and I asked him, I was like, are Christians allowed to eat pork? And he was like, I mean, technically they're not supposed to. And I was like, how come? Do you feel like Muslims get held to a higher standard? And he said, I honestly do, because he was saying how he can go eat pork, he can go to the club, party, drink, and nobody will necessarily say anything. But if a hijabi was doing that, or if a Muslim man was doing that, they'd be like, hey, aren't you Muslim? Or why are you doing that? You're not supposed to eat that. You're not supposed to say that. I feel like that's honestly an extremely big blessing. Like we are naturally held to an extremely high standard.
Takbir.
Allahu Akbar.
I love that. You know what, I just put this thing together, right? America protects our Islam, but Islam protects us from America. America protects our Islam, but Islam protects us from America. And that's what it means to be Muslim in America. Because we heard both sides of that story. America, religious freedom, and we can practice our deen, and we can do, okay, America is protecting our Islam. But what protects us from America? That standard. Islam is what protects us from the opposite and the negative consequences of too much freedom. So, alhamdulillah. Any other sisters before we close out? Oh, we have a brother here.
I just wanted to piggyback before you were saying, why should I piggyback? So fly turkey bag.
Turkey bag. So,
I was at Juma with my mom one time. This was probably a couple months ago. And the Imam, he was just talking about how much of a privilege it was to be born in America and to be born in a country where you could just express religious freedom. And I thought that was such a blessing, because that's something that I've always took for granted, and not knowing that there's people in other countries who really don't get to express religious freedom. Because there is two sides to that spectrum. That means you can be Muslim, and that means you could also be anything. That means you could also get married to anyone, so it's kind of like, you know what I mean? But I do think that is one of the biggest blessings that we do have as Muslims in America. That we do get to, like, you know what I mean? We do get to have religious freedom. So
we have to take advantage of it. If you don't take advantage of your freedoms, you'll no longer have them. If you don't practice your rights, they'll get lost. And so what I wanted to leave off before we go back to the sisters and close out was privilege, which is going to be our next community spotlight. As Americans, we're privileged. As men, we're privileged over women. We have a natural privilege. That's why women are fighting for women's rights, to get paid more and to be in positions of leadership more. A person who has privilege, right, even the lighter person has more privilege than the dark person because of the society that we live in, has a responsibility to use that privilege to uplift those who by no fault of their own don't have that same privilege. And so we as men have to always remind our brothers about our sisters and the plight of those who are less privileged than us. Why? Because we experience privilege. And as American, we have a privilege that Palestinians don't have. And so we have to continue to use our privilege to remind the world about those who are disprivileged, not because of any fault of their own. And so we'll get into that next community spotlight, privilege. So I'm glad you spoke about that privilege. One more brother, then we'll go to the sisters and close out. Or go ahead.
Okay, no, I just wanted to, I forgot to mention this on the last point, is that with religious freedom, like that's literally written on some of these founding fathers' grave. Like to take it to the grave, to write it across your tombstone, that's what America is for. That I think is something just very powerful. And you know, lastly, to keep it short, I was speaking to a man from Bangladesh, and he said, you know, it's interesting because we came to America. He said, and now all of the money that we were spending in different places, we're putting into the Masjid to create programs to keep kids Muslim, like to keep them practicing their deen. And he said he didn't expect to do that coming here, that he would have to do that. So now it's just interesting that the money is going into preserving deen as opposed to, you know, building other things. So, yeah.
Go ahead.
One more thing I wanted to add. I feel like I also want to hear your opinion on this. I feel like being kind is like the hardest part about being Muslim in today's age. I feel like it's really, really easy, like we're all talking about freedom, to just say, like, hey, leave me the F alone or stuff Allah. But like, I feel like that's like what the most important part about being a Muslim is to, you know, fight the discrimination, fight the racism, you know, fight anybody who's, you know, not, you know, physically fight them, but, you know, fight the urge to be mean, fight the urge to, you know, say something back to them, and literally all you can do is really just pray for them, you know, and that's something we're not really gonna probably ever escape. I don't feel like anytime soon, and I don't know, I feel like that is something that's dealt with on a day-to-day basis for Muslims, and I feel like it gets, you know, to a point where you really don't even know what to say, especially at a young age. You know, growing up in Texas, you know, Texas is predominantly Christian. I feel like, so, you know, and if your parents aren't very religious, or if you're growing up in a household where, you know, probably your parents probably aren't really, probably not even Muslim, like maybe you became Muslim like later in your life. Like in school, like, because I dealt with this in school, like you don't really know how to defend yourself. And I feel like it also ties into any new Muslims that you see. I feel like you should just be completely kind to them. And because, like I seen a brother come in here not so long ago. He said it was his first day, and I showed him around. Like I just came to this Masjid not too long ago, and I just showed him around. And I feel like, and he texted me later. He was like, that just changed my whole perspective. And I feel like that's such a simple thing to do, but it's also a really hard thing simply because you have a lot of freedom.
Well, there's a couple of things there. First of all, let's pass this mic to the sisters. We're going to close with you, Ali. To be kind as a Muslim is our duty. We have to, first of all, because it's the example of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. But any marginalized group of people, whether you be Muslim, whether you be Hispanic, African American, immigrant from the hood, you will have a target on your back. And black folks used to say this back in the day, don't you go out here cutting up because you'll make it bad for all of us. And so that heavy burden that every marginalized group of people have exists on their back, and they're carrying the weight of that on their shoulders so that they don't make it bad for their whole group that is marginalized. Now imagine if you have several layers of marginalization within you. Not only are you black, but you're a black Muslim. Not only are you black Muslim, but you come from poverty. Not only are you a black Muslim from poverty, but you're a sister and you gotta wear a hijab. Imagine how much targets you have on your back. But, goes back to what you said, holding us to what? Higher standards. That's good, okay. Yes, you just want to let loose sometimes and be like everybody else, but you got races, religions, whole areas counting on you to behave in a way that is progressive for them. And so alhamdulillah for it, the gift and the curse. Last from a sister, and then we'll close out.
Question. I wanted to answer the second question.
Yes, the second question was, how do we practice this deen as Muslims in America? Okay, what does Muslim in America mean? Can you be proud to be an American? How do we practice this deen as Muslims in America? What advice you have?
So, for me as a believer, practicing this deen in America is always holding on to my salat. I haven't been to Mecca, Saudi, but I hear that when it's time to pray, everything shuts down. And here it's easy for us to hear that alarm go off when it's time to pray and, kind of miss it or be late taking it. So for me, holding on to that salat, always praying, is something that I try to hold on to as being a believer, is not just prayer and making my prayers and trying to make them on time.
Alhamdulillah. Takbir.
Allahu Akbar.
You know why I love that, man? This is where we're going to close out. Because the prayer is the closing advice. How do you practice Islam in America? You hold on to the prayer. And what is the very thing that they're trying to take away from us? In the videos we talked about.
The prayer.
It was the prayer. The prayer is protecting us from the folly of American society. But it's also America that gives us the right to do that prayer. Stick up with your prayers. Because the greatest way for this society to defeat us is to take away our prayers. In the same very way, for us to preserve our faith within this society is to keep up with the prayer. So inshallah, I see y'all for Fajr tomorrow. Subhanaka Allahumma wa bihamdik wa nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta. Oh, we have one more. We have one more sister, and then we got to close with Ali. One more sister, then we're going to close with Ali. Bismillah. Which question you want to answer? Or you can answer both. Go ahead. Muslim in America, can you be proud to be an American? And how do you practice the deen as a Muslim?
I actually have the question for you. So, one of your questions is, are you proud to be American? But how can you be proud to be American when you know that our taxes go to help the suffering in Sudan and Congo and Palestine?
Good question. How can you be proud to be an American when you know that our taxes go to fund oppression in other countries? Sudan, Palestine, for example. Now, that goes back to what does it mean to be American? If you're an American, does that mean that you agree with the government? Why doesn't it mean that for other countries? If you say, I'm proud to be Sudanese, does that mean that you agree with the RSF? Not necessarily, right? People automatically distinguish between a Sudanese person and the Sudanese government. Or a Palestinian person, and let's say the Palestinian government is no good. Does that mean you can no longer be proud to be Palestinian? I don't equate America with its government, two different entities. I'm proud to be an American person because that's who I am. I'm proud of the American land. Why? Because land belongs to Allah. I'm proud of this masjid because it's in America. And I'm proud of America because it has this masjid. So I divorced the two. American government, I'm not proud of. I'm not proud of Sudanese government. But I love Sudan and its people. American people, I am proud of a lot of them. And so you gave me a presupposition, that America, its government and its people are the same. When I say I'm proud to be an American, I'm proud to be an American person from this soil. And this is just what we happen to call this land. Ali, we close up. Is that?
Yeah, that answers it. Thank you.
So are you proud to be an American?
With that answer.
I am too. You know, be proud to be Palestinian, that don't mean you're proud of whoever is, let's say some terrorist comes and takes over. That doesn't mean you can't be proud to be Palestinian anymore.
Hey, what was the question?
The question is, how do you be Muslim in America?
So how do you be Muslim in America? What do you think about it? Wait, say it again?
What does it mean to be an American?
It means maybe it means,
What does it mean to be a Muslim?
you should answer that first.
Okay, great.
What it means to be Muslim, it means to supports Allah and his prophets and
Alhamdulillah. What it means to be Muslim is to support Allah and His prophets.
Allah Akbar.
Allah make us all supporters of Him and His prophets. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik. Wa nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta wa nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Next, we're going to have a quick 5-minute meeting with the volunteers, and then next week we're going to begin our new lecture series. We'll have the advertising out for that soon. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.